In 1772, after the first partition of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, a part of the western Ukrainian territories became part of the Habsburg Empire. A new province, the Kingdom of Galicia and Lodomeria, was formed here. At the end of the 18th century, the Austrian authorities introduced land reforms in Galicia, dividing the land into dominial landlords and rustic peasant communities. These reforms led to the emergence of seals for rural communities. At that time, rural communities primarily used their seals to authenticate the signatures of village heads and other peasants' representatives on various agreements. The designs and inscriptions on the seals were deeply carved to create raised impressions in wax. In the late 18th and throughout the 19th century, it was common to use sooty imprints. The seals was blackened with the flame of a candle and then pressed onto damp paper. The seals were primarily made by urban craftsmen. Some craftsmen could create seals for multiple communities. This is indicated by the composition of the design, the content of inscription, and form and size of the seals. The choice of imagery of the seal was usually made by the villagers themselves. Consequently, there is a wide variety of depiction of agricultural tools such as scythes, plows, rakes, pitchforks, cycles, harrows, and more. There are instances for standardized design, such as several villages in the Skola region having identical images of two crossed branches on their seals. Villages in the Horodenka region featured images of peasants with scythes, while those in the Mosteyska region depicted scales. In fact, the seals only differed in the village names. The rural community of the Drohobych districts had more interesting designs. Each village had its own unique image. The imagery could represent local flora and fauna, domestic scenes from village life, or characterize the main local industries. Sometimes these depictions were associated with legendary or real events. Often the symbols had associative meaning indicating the name of the settlement. For example, an ash tree, yasen in Ukrainian, in Yasenevichi village, a bull, byk in Ukrainian, in Bykiv, or a harrow, borona in Ukrainian, in Bronitsa village. Many communities preserved traditional design when creating new seals in the early 20th century. According to the law of Ukraine on local self-government adopted in 1997, territorial communities have the right to use their own symbols, including coat of arms, flags, etc. This accelerated the adoption of coat of arms and flags for villages in Ukraine. Not all imagery from rural seals could be directly used for creating coat of arms for rural communities. In some cases, these symbols needed specialized heraldic development. The Ukrainian Heraldry Society has already developed basic principles for creating modern municipal symbols based on the old seals. Using these principles, many new coat of arms and flags have been designed and approved by local councils. Let's take a look at a few examples. First example, Boryslaw, now a city in the Lviv region. On the old village seals, a laborer carrying a rocker with 2 buckets of oil on his shoulders was depicted. In the mid-19th century, Boryslaw became known as an industrial center for the extraction and processing of oil. In the 20th century, it was granted city status. The imagery from the seal was used to create the coat of arms of Boleslav, approved in 1996. Східниця, now a town in the Lviv region. Східниця is located amidst dense forests, so on the village seals from the 18th-19th centuries a bear was depicted. In the second half of the 20th century, large deposits of mineral water were discovered here, and Skhidnytsia became a resort town. The modern symbols still featured the bear, representing local wildlife, with a coniferous division to emphasize the village's location in coniferous forests, and green color signified the coloring as a developed resort industry. These symbols were approved in 1996. Medenichi, now a town in the Lviv region. On the seal of the rural community from 18th-19th centuries, 3 beehives and some bees were depicted. Ukrainian word "med" means honey, so these symbols referred to the village's name and its historical beekeeping industry, symbolizing diligence and prosperity. The coat of arms was approved in 2004. Truskavets, now a city in the Lviv region. Since 1827, a balneological resort began to develop in the village. The basis for the modern coat of arms and flags was the imagery from the village seal of Truskavets from the 18th-19th centuries, which featured a goose with its wings raised. The green color represents the abundant forests surrounding Truskavets, characterizing it as a resort city. These symbols were approved in 1992. Bekiv, now a small village in the Drohobych district of the Lviv region. On a seal from 1788, a bull was depicted, indicated the village's name. Ukrainian word "byk" means bull in English. In 2010, new symbols were created, featuring the bull along with a 3-4-leaf clover, symbolizing the history of the local cooperative dairy Maslo Soyuz, Butter Union in English translation. Busovesko, now a village in the Samber district of the Lviv region. The bishop's mitre, crozier, and cross on the 19th century village seal indicated the village's connection to church property. Green color and fast line represent the abundant forest, while yellow signifies agriculture. The symbols were approved in 2000s. Smodna, now a village in the Kosiv district of the Ivano-Frankivsk region. On the 19th century village seal, there was an imagery of a horse. This was a common motif in local heraldry, and it is complemented by a throat, symbolizing the local natural wealth. These symbols were approved in 1997. Velika Sushitsa, now a village in the Samber district of the Lviv region. The seal of Velika Sushitsa from the 19th century depicted 2 trees, each with a bird patched on top. These elements representing local nature were retained in the modern coat of arms and flag. They were approved in 2007. In conclusion, Galician villages in the 18th-19th centuries did not have coat of arms. Various designs related to history, daily life, and local customs were used on village seals. Most of these images are too uniform and unsuitable for modern symbols. However, a seal with interesting and original designs can serve to source a source for creating coat of arms and flags for villages. Therefore, when developing such symbols, it is necessary to conduct archival research of sphagistic material. Thank you for your attention.